Welcome everyone. In this session of videos we're going to be looking at the flooring, and we're going to put in some concrete floor here inside the walls. We're going to put a pad along the back for additional storage behind the shed, and of course we're going to put a pad out here in front for the door. So let's go ahead and get started with that. To start with, the floor command is very straightforward. We're going to use an architectural floor. We don't have a good option here for us to choose, so we're going to duplicate this generic 12-inch. So I edit type, duplicate, and I'm going to call mine 4-inch concrete. And of course I'm going to have to edit the structure to make that correct. So I'm going to use 4 inches, and I'm going to go into the materials, and I'm going to search. Actually, I did CAS. I'm looking for cast in place gray. So I'll choose that. I have a surface pattern. I even have a cut pattern, which is nice. What I am going to need to do is on this surface pattern, I'm going to need to change that to a light gray. I think that's all I need to do. Okay, so I'm going to need now to add an additional layer. So underneath my concrete, I need some compacted gravel. So I'm going to add that. So I'm going to insert a row. And notice this row came in above the concrete. I needed to come in below. So now that my new row is selected, I'm going to click down and, quote, move that row down, right? If here's my table, the top of the table is the top of the floor, and the floor extends down from there. So I need concrete sitting on top of 4 inches of gravel. So I'm going to type in 4 inches, and I'm going to go get a material. So if I just do GRA, look for gravel, I of course am not going to find anything. So I'm going to create a new material. And I'm going to right click and rename this one instantly because it's simply called default new material. And I'm going to call mine actually, gravel compacted. Now that I have this selected, I'm going to navigate to my appearance, look to add an appearance to it, and of course bring up this dialog box, expand appearance, library, and let's see. I think I'm going to go to site work and navigate and see if I can find gravel, and I can. So I can either choose crushed or compact. I think I'm going to choose compact. Close out this dialog box, and there's some kind of compacted gravel in there. So when I look at graphics, I have no surface pattern. So maybe in theory I'd like to have one. But I need to be, let's see, what do I need to be? I need to be clear. There is in no view anywhere am I ever going to see the surface of this compacted gravel, right? By definition, the concrete's sitting on top of it. So I'm going to leave that blank. Move to cut pattern, so for my section views, and click in here, and let's see what options I have. So if I navigate down, I don't have what I would consider very good options. I don't want to choose concrete, that's for sure, so I'll go ahead and choose sand dense and click OK. Make sure it's that light gray. So now if I'm doing a section view later, this compacted ground is going to show up as dense sand. There won't be any surface pattern. We'll never see that, so I'll click OK. And now I have this compacted gravel, 4 inches, with cast in place concrete sitting on top of it. I'll click OK. Click OK here, and it's time to draw some boundary. And this is going to be really simple. I can either pick line and choose my 4 grids, or I can draw a line, and snapping to grids is just really easy. So I'll choose that. And I do want to highlight, notice on the first line that I drew, there are these extra 2 lines sitting here. And what Revit's telling me with that is that the grain of my floor is going to go left to right. Okay. I control which way the grain of the floor goes. I can use this span direction option. I can pick a line and say, well, let's pick this one. And notice my 2 lines over here disappeared, and now there's 2 lines over here, meaning the grain of my floor is going to go this way now. Well, clearly here with concrete, there is no grain. It's just poured concrete. Use a mental experiment for a second and think about, well, what if this was a house and this was wood planking? As modelers, we would want to define which way the planking goes. And that's the tool that we use, is this thing called span direction. Okay, so the base of our floor is at first floor finish. The height is 0, and the rest of the floor will go down below 0, which is exactly what we're looking for. So I can simply click the green check mark, look at this, and there is concrete floor, and there is concrete. Okay, so underneath I see gravel, on top I see concrete, and here is something that's a little less than accurate. It's just an issue with Revit, is that if I look on the edge, I see this compacted gravel all the way up the edge. And that's not really what I want to see. When I get to construction documents, I won't be using this realistic, but if I transition to hidden line, well, then I don't have an issue anymore, because now there's no surface pattern in the drafting. So for modeling, I just need to understand that that's a shortcoming of Revit currently. Okay, so let's add the other floors that we need. I need some floor section back here. And I'm specifically doing this as a separate floor for a reason. And we'll see that here in a second. Floor architectural, I'm going to use the same floor. I'm going to draw some lines for a boundary. Grid up, and I'm going to go back 5 feet. I'm going to come over, back down to my grid, and close this rectangle off. And for now, I'm just going to click the green check mark, look at this in 3D, and we can see there's some concrete back here. Even in the basic hidden line view, we can see there's a surface pattern up here on the top. So the reason I did these floors separately is that any concrete that's outside of a building has to be sloped, right? We can't let water sit on a flat surface of concrete. So we needed to what's called slope this concrete away from the back wall. And we do that inside the floor command. So here in the first floor, right, I select my floor, edit boundary, and I can draw boundary lines, and right below that I can specify that I want to draw a slope arrow, and I'm going to do that. I can either draw or pick a line, and I'm going to choose to draw. I'm going to navigate to the middle snap. I will say it's not important, but I do it anyway. And I'm going to draw my arrow away from the building. So I'm telling Revit that there's the surface of this floor is going to be sloped by this arrow. And so it's important to make sure that my arrow is exactly pointed the direction I want, because if it's slightly off, or off by a lot, then Revit will slope the floor along that angle, right? So when you're drawing slope arrows, make sure that you've got one exactly at the 90 degrees that you're looking for. And as soon as you put in a slope arrow, you need to come over to the properties and set it to what you're looking for. And the default that you're going to want to use 99% of the time is this thing called slope. So I'll click on slope. I want the height of the floor at the tail of the arrow to be exactly 0. I don't want any offset. I'm going to have my floor be smooth and then begin to slope down when I get outside the wall. And I want the slope to be, whoops, oh, I just missed the arrow somehow. All right, sorry, slope arrow, up, slope arrow, slope 0, offset, and I want this slope number itself to be negative 0.25. So what am I saying? I want it to slope down, that's the negative, and I want a 1/4 inch of drop for every foot of run. So I'll click apply. I get an answer. I'm going to click the green check. So whenever I'm doing sloped concrete, if I put a piece of sloped concrete in, the next thing I'm going to do is immediately head to some 3D view and look at it pretty close to edge on and make sure that I got it sloping the right direction, meaning it's not accidentally sloping up. I've made that mistake in the past, and there's no reason to do that. So it's a quick check. So let's put a floor around this, the outside of this front door, and do the same thing and slope it away from the building as well. So if I navigate back to the first floor, I'm going to reuse the floor command again. And in this particular case, I think what I'm going to do, actually this should be pretty easy. Same thing. I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to come out, I think I'm going to come out 6 feet. Finish a line there and bring another line out. And close this off coming around with, I'm going to need 1 trim. And I think I've got a floor. I think that'll work. So I'll click OK. Check it in 3D. Looks reasonable. And so I'm going to come back and add my slope. So edit the boundary. Slope arrow. Draw my slope arrow and edit the properties of my slope arrow to slope with 0 offset and a slope of negative 0.25 inches per 12 inches of run. Click the green check mark and one more time. Take a look at it and make sure that it's sloping the way I expect. All right. So it looks like we have all of our concrete done in the modeling. I'm going to close this session out. It went just a little bit long, but I knew we'd be able to finish in one take. So in the next session, we will begin to either put on a roof or start to work on the roof framing. Hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you in the next session.